Yo, it's Max Beck, and I'm going in the DMs with Mascarilla. What inspires you? I think it's a little different for me than a lot of different other photographers, because like for me, I'm inspired mostly by like music and like painters and like stuff like that. Like when I am inspired by like photos that I see in certain photographers, but ultimately like I'm more inspired by their lifestyle. Yeah, I don't know. I think what makes like a good photographer and videographer is like being in the middle of whatever you want to capture, like being as close to your subject as possible. But yeah, I'm inspired by like music mostly. How did I start out being a photographer, and how did I get linked up with Suicide Boys? Well, I started being a photographer because I started shooting music videos, but I guess the reason I started shooting music videos was because when I was in high school, I've always like been into music. So it's like when I was in middle school, it was more like just like, you know, punk and like pop punk and just emo and whatever the fuck. Then in high school, I started getting more into rap, and I grew up in the Bay Area, and there's like a big like scene there. There's not like an industry, but there's a huge scene where it's like everyone who's from the Bay like knows all the big Bay Area rappers and shit. So it's like I like was always watching music videos back then. This dude named Erick was shooting them all. Like he was like my idol, even though like I was just a fan. Like I didn't think I could like make videos, but then like my homie, who was like a couple years older than me, like worked in film a little bit and like kind of like brainwashed me basically in a good way, but like into thinking that like we could do it, like you could go to LA, like we could be doing all this cool shit, because like he had a couple experiences down in LA and cool ones, like oh like I'm working on a set and I went to this party and like Ashton Kutcher was there, and just random shit like that like in the big scheme of things isn't that cool. But when you're like 17 in school and you're in English class and someone's texting you this, it's like fuck dude, like I'm about to go to college. And like at that point I was such like a fuck up as a kid that I was just like praying to God I got into college, like praying that I like got a desk job somewhere and made 65 grand a year, just because like I thought I was gonna fuck up. But then oh shit, what was even the question? Like, how did I start photography? Fuck, it's just, there's no real right answer. But regardless, like, we just kind of like faked it. And then eventually, we were like directing music videos even though we didn't have a camera, because we would just like hire people for $50 and like lie to them and shit. And like, then like, I just ended up buying a camera, like a used 70 for like $800 and $900 at the time, and just started filming. And then how did I meet the Suicide Boys? Fast forward like 2 or 3 years later, I had shot a few shows for Puya and Fat Nick, and I had just gone to my first tour with a different rapper named Burner, and then I was back and I like didn't have anything to do, and suddenly like Puya and Fat Nick just start like spamming me, and like I was close with them but I didn't know them that well. And then they were like, please tell me you're not doing anything for the next like 40 days or whatever. And then I was like, not really. And they just said, do you want to come on tour? And I just went on tour and walked into the Sprinter van in Queens, New York, and Scream and Ruby were there. And I really only knew Antarctica at the time and like maybe a couple other songs, but yeah. And then I got to know them from Southside Suicide Tour, February 2016. I'm giving the most roundabout explanations. I'm like the worst person about staying on track. During your career as a photographer and videographer, are there any specific times like at a show that you recall feeling like it was a particularly amazing moment? Okay, I'm sure I do, but the one that I think off the top of my head, I wasn't even shooting necessarily, but I was shooting Suicide Boys at Bravalla Festival in Sweden. And just that whole day was super cool. We were just like, we met Linkin Park and like got to see Linkin Park, and I'd never seen them before, and they were such a big part of my childhood. So like that whole day was like probably the most memorable moment. Any tips for an up and coming videographer? I mean, it's hard, but really just don't. This sounds so corny, but it's like don't give up. Like, because, like, for me, like, there was, like, the first 2 years of me shooting, there was cool stuff that happened, but ultimately, like, I'm here today because, like, I didn't give up. And, like, I had to, like, wake up every single night and, like, be depressed and, like, have my mind tell me that, like, I should be in college or something, or I should be doing this and that. But, like, you really just have to just keep doing the same thing that you started. What's the deal with me and Meth doing English accents? It's just really just, like, us, like, fucking trying to stay sane. But it's just, I don't know, it's funny.
What's your favorite accent to do? From Cheddar.
Yo, probably like a Cockney, probably like a Bexy accent, you know what I mean? So it's like, they were like, yeah, it's like, he'll always be like, why do you guys always say water? It's water. It's water, mate. Pass me the water. Oi, bruv. Fuck you thinking. But yeah, it gets ridiculous because we're just like, we'll talk like that for days and shit. Like, it's just.
Yeah, I think when
but the Cockney.
At the LA show, you were just full accent. You say one word that wasn't not in a fucking English accent.
Yeah, because I don't know what happens. It is probably terrible too. It's probably like a terrible accent, but it's like, me and me bruvs getting fucked up. Like, it's just like, just funny. But yeah, it's stupid. But no, it's funny because like when we're in Europe, like, we tend to do more of like a German accent or something. And then when we're in America, for some reason, we were doing the British one. I have no idea. But like, yeah, my alter ego in Europe is Hansel. It's like a whole different German, Austrian thing. But there's a few. I'm perfecting the Australian. I'm trying to. But
so what's the like Hansel accent?
It's like, what? What are you saying? Like just that type of shit. Like it's like I there's certain things that I say that are just like will be taken out of context. So I'm like, I don't really want to say it, but it's like, yeah, Hansel is everyone knows about Hansel in Europe. He's the shit. In your opinion, what makes a good artist? Integrity. I am like way more interested in an artist that there's some level of repetition to what they do. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that, like, back in the day, the skilled artist was valued so much higher. But now we have YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, like, you had to do apprentice for someone. Information was secret. So I think a good artist is about making decisions and, like, having integrity. And that's why I think that, like, really, quote-unquote, shitty artists are way more interesting than, like, a good artist who makes, like, I don't know. God, I'm throwing so many terms around. It's going to be hard to understand that. But I just think, like, good artists is having integrity where it's like I can see that or hear something and be like, oh, that's them. You know what I mean? Because it's like they have, like, a mission. You know what I mean? Like, where there's a lot of artists that, like, make songs that are good at parties, or there's a lot of photographers who take a really technically beautiful photo, but there's nothing different about them. There's nothing to distinguish them from other people. Like, there was a time in my career, like, early on, like, back in, like, so I started shooting in 2012. So, yeah, like, 2012, 2013, where I'd be on Instagram, and I'd be, like, scrolling through, and I'd see all the kids, like, with their feet dangling off of the building, and they'd all have teal and orange, and they'd have, like, their tone curves, all their blacks all blown out, and blah, 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 blah. And I beat myself up over it for a while. I was like, yo, like, do I have to go climb a building? Like, I'm afraid of heights. Like, I'm like, yo, like, and luckily I didn't, because then I eventually kind of, like, found my style or whatever. But yeah, like, I would say just try to do whatever the fuck you want to do and just keep doing it. Like, not to just mention people I work with because I just know them the best, but, you know, like, Suicide Boys are a good example. Like, Puya, Fat Nick, fucking Ghostmane, like, Horsehead, like, you know, these guys who are like, for instance, like, Horsehead, like, showed me one of his videos the other day, and, like, that was, like, it's, like, this, like, kind of home video style in a bowling alley, and it's just all, like, fun and good vibes and stuff, and it's, like, someone might look at that and be like, oh, that's a shitty video, or blah, 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 but, like, I loved that video more than, like, most videos I've seen recently, because it's, like, I don't respect, like, technical skill as much as I respect, like, someone taking a risk and like doing something as an artist, you know what I mean? Because I think like good art takes balls, like, you know what I mean, like more than anything else, like, you know, like as the value of, or as the accessibility of knowledge went up, like the demand for talent went down, like, you know, like, so it's like, obviously if you're technically very skilled and you can play some instrument or sing great, like that's cool, but like, or if you could make a video that's perfectly crisp and all your focal points and your megapixels match up and they like, that's great, but I could learn that too if I spend like a few hours on YouTube. Like it's harder to like take a risk and like do something that a lot of people are probably going to think is shitty, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, like I probably just said hella shit right there. But how old was I when I tried weed for the first time? 13, I think, and then I didn't smoke again for a whole nother like year because I was like, I just wanted to try it and I got like so high, I was like freaking out, and then I just like didn't do it again for another year. But yeah, I think weed's good for some people. It's good for me, but I don't know, I didn't really get into it until I was like 16 probably.
Where were you when you were 13 and you
tried it?
Yeah.
I literally had just gotten in like not a fight, but a physical altercation at school with one of my friends. It was just stupid, but like just us fucking around got too far and like punched him in like the head or something right in front of a teacher. And like I got suspended for like a day or two or something. And then the next week I got in an actual fight with someone, and then I got suspended again. And like I went home in my life, like there was nothing in my room. My parents hated me. It was terrible. And so I was just like, fuck this. Like I want to smoke weed. It was like the first month of 8th grade or some shit like that. And then I'm just like, I just hit up like the sketchiest person I knew, like my friend's older brother's friend or something. And I was like, Paul, like I want to smoke weed. And he's just like, meet me at Harvest Park at 11 or something, bring $5. And just like, bring $5. We just smoked this joint. He teaches me how to smoke, and just sitting on the slide, like just losing my mind. And then I ran home and sprayed a bunch of Axe in my room and ate half a thing of Altoids and just went to bed. Didn't smoke again for another year. Good time. My mom was always an accountant. Okay. So recently she just got laid off, so I don't know what she's going to do now. And it's not like that big of a deal of her being laid off because she worked for this company for like 16 years or some shit. So it's like she got a severance package. She like didn't like it anymore, whatever. My dad, he's, I don't know how to explain it, but he had like alcohol and drug problems or whatever. So it's like he had a bunch of different jobs, blah, 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 blah. But like he always kind of worked in like medicine, I guess you could say, but not really. Like he was like, just like worked at a hospital, like in an office or some shit. I don't know what he did, but now he's a nurse. Cause like he eventually like had like some sort of like, not midlife crisis, but he's like, damn, like I'm around all these people. And at the time he was sober, so he's like, I want to like dedicate my life to like making more of a difference. Yeah, but he's a nurse at like a veterans hospital. He works with like mental or like drug abuse people and blah, 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 blah.
Did they go to college?
Yeah, they met at college. They both went to University of the Pacific. It's in Stockton. It's like no one knows what it is, but it's like, it's a very academic school now. It's like up north. It's like, it's not in the Bay, but it's like in between the Bay and Sacramento. So it's a shitty town called Stockton, but. So
did they expect you to go to college after
school? My parents had very conventional, like, suburban dreams for me, you know what I mean? Like, where it's just like, like, it was all like, you know, like, cut and dry, but like they got divorced when I was 3, so there was, if they had stayed together, like I probably wouldn't be here because my dad like probably wouldn't have let me like stray from like the norm as much. But like they were both super into music, like both my parents are punks, like, so it's like, but not like punks that spiked their hair and shit, like, oh, my dad did, but like my uncle, my mom's older brother, was a punk, so it's like I think the reason my mom and dad connected, because he was like, damn, this girl like knows all the same music I do, you know what I mean? So they were into like, not like super punk, like I wouldn't say they were into like Black Flag or like anything like that, but they were more, you know what I mean, like just like new wave, anywhere from like new wave to like, you know, Sex Pistols, Dead Kennedys, like that type of shit, like, yeah. So it's like, actually, I'm wearing a fucking, dude, the fucked up thing is when my dad used to be fucked, like, this is Dead Kennedys, it says Too Drunk to Fuck, like, but like that, my dad used to sing that song when I was like 3 years old, but it was like fuck, but But yeah, like my first favorite band was like the Offsprings and shit. So it's like I'm very thankful because I feel like that like background like really like just kind of set the stage for me to like end up doing all this shit. But
so are they supportive of your career?
Yeah, I would say that like at first, like the first few years I was doing it because like I said before, I started with hood, like I like was obsessed with hood like rappers and Bay Area shit, and like so my homie just convinced me to buy a camera, and then like I was just emailing like the hoodest rappers, but like they were like if you said like back in the day, if you said like, yo, you could meet NHT Boys or you could meet Jay-Z, I would have picked NHT Boys. Like if you said you could meet Roach Giggs or you could meet fucking Drake, I would have met Roach Giggs. Like DB the General, like all these people. And but then so I was just going to Oakland, shooting all these videos for free with a bunch of like rappers that my parents were kind of like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And so it's like, but my dad had relapsed around that same time. So it's like he was in and out of rehab and all this shit. And then he got a job in rural Illinois right when he got out of rehab and was actually sober and cool. He like got a job in rural Illinois, moved away for 2 years. So it's like, I think that space, even though I was living with my mom, I was able to like sell weed, do all this shit. Not to say that my mom was like cool with that, but she was like nice and like kind of like was just kind of like let me do my thing, but eventually it got too much and like I moved out. But I think selling weed at that time, having my dad separated from my life and shit was like, that's why I bought my next camera. Like that's how I bought lenses and shit, was because like I was making money off selling weed. Now, like once someone flew me somewhere, once I was like, I'm flying to LA, I'm getting paid to shoot this video, then I could just kind of tell there was some like, whoa, holy shit. Because before it was like, this is cool, but what the fuck is it? And then now I'm getting flown places, and they still don't get it really, but they're supportive of it and they think it's cool, but they can't really put it into perspective and shit. Yeah. But yeah, like shooting that shit with Ghostman and Travis Barker the other day was, I feel like how it kind of in a weird way came full circle, because it was like my dad's the one who showed me Blink-182, and it was just like I was like, I'm shooting a fucking video of Travis Barker, it's sick. Like, and so it's like, I don't know, like they thought it was super cool, but it's like 9 times out of 10 they're just like Puya, right? Like, and they're just trying to remember the names and whatever, but yeah, they're supportive, I would say. Oi, Max, you mad cunt, how are you? My question is, what was it like touring Australia? Cheers. I didn't really tour Australia, but I went to Australia and New Zealand on New Year's, and I love Australia and New Zealand. It's sick. Like, it's to me, it like, there's a lot of partying and it's super fun, but there's like, I don't know, it just feels like in a weird way, it feels like a better version of America. But when I say that, everyone brings up a lot of different social issues. Oh, he's on the phone or something. He's got like a Bluetooth thing or something. Okay, but yeah, no. Australia, New Zealand, super cool.
Is that where you were like locked out of a McDonald's or something? You were like drunk outside of McDonald's at like...
Was I on live?
At like 5 in the morning.
Was I on live?
It like must have been, but now it's on YouTube. The stuff was like you and Ruby.
It's on... Oh.
What's that story?
Holy shit. Holy fuck. That was Avalon, France. So like... Basically, we were on our way from Paris to Lyon on the last tour, on this last show. Hold up. On the last Europe tour, the global epidemic. And we're on our way to Paris to Lyon. Our bus breaks down in this town called Avalon, which is technically like where Merlin lived in King Arthur and shit. Like, it's like Step Brothers references it, like the Mists of Avalon. It's technically a mythical place, but like this is like the one place that they could say is like, oh, if it did actually exist, was probably here. But it's basically just like a rural French town where no one speaks English and they all hate Americans. And so it was like we were stuck there for like 3 days, no AC on the bus. Like, it was so bad. And me, Ruby, Scrim, and one of the managers just took a little car. Like, it's such a long story. There's so much shit that happened, but long story short, we drive to Lyon, do the show, come back. It's like 7 a.m. And then there was a McDonald's like half a mile away, and we're like, let's go walk there. We're starving and see if it's open. But then we go and Ruby's like, but we got to kill this bottle of Jack if we go. And I'm like, dude, but I hate Jack. And he's like, me too. And like, and so I was like, all right, fuck it. And we go and we end up just like, and we get there and it's like 7:30 in the morning, but McDonald's wasn't open until 10. So we're just like, fuck, let's just like sit here and finish this bottle. We sat there, finished the bottle, and just like talked about life, like, and just fucked around and fucking, it was just, I was so shit-faced. And then Meth wakes up and he's like, where y'all at? We're like, McDonald's. He's like, I'm running there right now. We just see like Meth running around the corner. There's no one in this town. Like, literally, like the cops, like the police station closes at 9. Like, there's no police at night or anything, but it felt safe. But yeah, we were just doing stupid shit, like smashing the bottle. Like, then I like hopped this fence and saw these horses and like started like calling them over, and it was just a shit show. But never forget Avalon. And then we slept in McDonald's all day.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But Avalon is, I want to go back. As shitty as it was, like, I want to go back because it's so like nostalgic. That's like a very, that's a very memorable time. And too drunk to fuck. Dude, literally dead ass. Like, because we like, I feel like me and Ruby like bond over like a lot of punk shit too. Like, so it's like, and I have no idea what the context of this was, but there's like a Snapchat or something. I don't know if it's out there. It probably is, but of like me sitting in the middle of the street cross-legged, and Ruby like throws the Jack Daniels bottle like over my head, and he says, "Too drunk to fuck." That's what he says when he does that. The reason I was like, was I alive and all this shit is because like I blacked out that night and I was too drunk in the hotel room, and I was like, fuck, like no one wanted to leave the hotel, so I was like, I'm going to the pool, and I like meet all these New Zealanders, and then the next thing I know, I wake up the next day and like they charged us $1,000 because I punched a hole in the wall and like all this shit, and like I had like all these bruises and shit, and I was like, fuck. But I vaguely remember like a security guard like pressing me or some shit. I don't even remember. And I was like going off on the hotel because they said it was 24-hour room service and they didn't have any. I was just being a fuck. But hold up, I gotta revamp this really quick. Why are you such a slut? Bam.max. I don't know. I'm just a little frothy little thothy. You know, just, I really have no idea. I am a slut, though.
How do you meet girls?
How do I meet girls? In the past, like, 2 years or whatever, like, it's just been, like, I meet whoever kind of meets me, I guess. Like, where it's, like, girls sliding in your DMs or whatever. Like, I've never, like, slid in DMs. Like, some girl probably has a screenshot out there to, like, prove me otherwise, but I just kind of just meet people, and if I fuck with them, then I fuck with them. But like, yeah, now I'm trying to like chill out a little bit and like take things a little more serious and just like be more selective, you know, because there was a time when I was in the froth was everywhere, but now I'm toning down the slutness a little bit, and I'm like trying to take shit a little serious.
Is it only Instagram, or are you on Tinder?
Oh, how? No, I'm not on Tinder. I have nothing against people on Tinder, but like, that's the reason I don't slide into girls' DMs is because like it's hard for me to put myself in that position. Like, I don't hit on girls. Like, it's partially because I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, I'm not good at it. I always come on too strong. So I would just much rather like a girl like be interested in me, and then I could just capitalize on that interest. Like, I might meet someone like at a show or something, and they have no idea who I am or no idea who I'm working with, but they just see there's something going on, and then we start to talk, and it's exciting or whatever. But yeah, but like I've just chilled out recently a lot, kind of abstaining from the slut life. Oh my god. Okay, there's a million stories like this, but like, long story short, abridged version is so much shit's happened recently, but this is one thing that's happened recently was there's people over here got a little too out of control. People kept coming over telling us to calm down, be quiet. Cops came, noise complaint, everything was fine. I start getting into a loud altercation with a girl that I'm talking to, and I was totally like acting an ass, but I was so fucked up. And then next thing I know, I look out my window, it's like 7 a.m., it's already bright. There's like 4 cops out there with guns drawn. And I like open my door, and I was like, fuck. And they just like handcuff me or whatever, throw me up against the wall. then I guess my neighbor called and said that I was yelling about killing everyone in the apartment complex. But as far as I'm concerned, those words were never said. I know I said I would kill someone, but not everyone in the apartment complex. But yeah, we've been getting noise complaints from him even when we don't make noise now. So, but yeah, it's been a little wild. If you were a Pokemon, what type would you be and why? This is a really hard question because like that was my first obsession like of my life was Pokemon. It was just like my first, like I had Pokemon bed sheets, Pokemon like window covers, like shirts, everything. Like I don't know, like I guess like a fucking stupid like cliche Pokemon response would be, oh, I want to be Charizard or I want to be this or that. But like fuck, dude. This is they're all kind of cliche, but I want to be Mew. I want to be Mew because you don't know if Mew's a boy or a girl. I mean, it seems like a girl, but Mew is rare as fuck. I want to be Mew.
So why? Because you don't know if it's a boy or a girl. What does that mean to you personally?
Oh, personally, like honestly, like I just think like I embrace like my like pretty boy, like white boy, like tatless, like persona. Like honestly, like I like tattoos, but once I kind of got deep into that world, like I feel like I would much rather like someone think I'm gay or someone think I'm metro or whatever, and then like realize that I'm Max Beck and then I'm not like that at all. And I get the kick out of contradictions, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like for a long time, like especially working with more like, you know, like hood rappers or whatever, like that was like the assumption 100% of the time. No one even investigated to see if I was cool or anything, and I was just the white boy camera dude. But like now I feel like I have the opportunity to like be a contradiction, and I don't know, contradictions always like kind of interest me. But Mew is just fire because it's Mew, and it's like Mew is rare as shit, you know what I mean? But you don't know if Mew's a boy or a girl, so shit. Definitely interesting, you know. It's they're cousins, you know what I mean? Like you work with family members. It's interesting for sure, you know. But they're like very similar in a lot of ways, but they're like exact opposites in a lot of ways. So it's like a lot of it's just, you know, like getting everyone on the same page, you know, just that type of shit. So, but I love it, you know, like I think like the first like week I met them, they like didn't really like me or something. I don't like, it was like we weren't that close, but then like we got a lot closer and everything. Now we're like, I'm like literally, it's so weird, like Scrim and Ruby are like two of my best friends, and like it's not like Scrim and Ruby are my best friends. It's like Scrim and Ruby, where it's like they're two completely different people, and it's interesting. And I actually really like, I like the group dynamic, you know, like it's interesting shooting for a group. I've never shot for a group before. Like I've shot for like a group where it's like, oh, we're this gang or we're these boys or the, you know, buffet boys or whatever, where it's like, but this is an actual collaborative, like everything is us. And I think that's like really special, you know what I mean? So I like love like working with G59, being in G59 and everything. So it's just like, yeah, it's dope.